I need to tell you something now. Before you leave, before you scroll, before you doubt, before you breathe, before you judge, before you forget, I need you to listen fully, not halfway through, not distracted, please, not while thinking, not while assuming, not while running from your feelings. This is confession, not a performance, not scripted words, not borrowed lines, not empty drama, not fake emotions, not viral bait, but raw truth. I have carried this inside silently for far too long lonely nights, countless quiet mornings, heavy unanswered evenings, where my chest felt overcrowded. I smiled publicly, laughed convincingly outside, acted completely normal, while breaking internally, piece by invisible piece. No blood visible, no scars obvious, just silent damage. People think strength means never shaking, never crying alone, never needing reassurance, never admitting fear, never asking help, never breaking down behind closed doors. But strength sometimes is telling truth, even when voice is shaking badly, even when hands feel numb inside, even when heart beats painfully loud. I am tired of pretending okay, tired of masks, tired of filters, tired of hiding, tired of lying to everyone else, to myself mostly. I need you to understand this. What I say comes from depth, not shallow emotions, not temporary sadness, not moment weakness, but accumulated years. I learned silence very early on, learned swallowing words, learned shrinking feelings, learned being convenient, learned being strong, learned being invisible, learned surviving quietly. Nobody taught me how to express what hurts deeply without feeling guilty, without feeling weak, without feeling dramatic, without feeling ungrateful for surviving somehow. So I stored everything inside me, every disappointment quietly, every broken expectation, every unmet promise, every ignored feeling, every unanswered prayer, every lonely celebration. I became good at being fine, good at joking, good at deflecting, good at changing topics, good at smiling softly, good at saying, I am okay. But okay was never true. It was placeholder, temporary survival phrase, used to avoid long explanations, used to escape uncomfortable conversations. I need you to know this. There were nights I questioned existence, nights ceiling listened to my breathing, nights pillow absorbed, tears I denied. I wondered often if anyone noticed my quiet disappearance inside crowded rooms, my fading laughter, my delayed replies, my forced enthusiasm, my distant presence. I wondered if anyone would care, if I stopped trying, stopped explaining myself, stopped showing up, stopped being strong, stopped holding everything together somehow. This is hard to admit aloud because vulnerability feels like standing naked in cold judgment, waiting for laughter or rejection, response, or careless dismissal. But I am here saying this anyway because silence suffocates more than rejection, more than judgment, more than misunderstanding, more than loneliness. I already know I am not asking for fixing, not asking solutions, not asking saving, not asking promises, not asking miracles, just asking presence, honest, listening presence. I need you to hear pain without rushing advice, without minimizing feelings, without comparing stories, without dismissing wow and yes, without saying others have it worse, because pain is not competition. Suffering is not measured by scale. What hurts me hurts regardless, even if invisible, even if quiet. I need you to know also that I am trying every single day to keep going, to keep hoping, to keep believing something will change. Some days easier, some days unbearable, some days hopeful, some days hopeless, some days I win, some days I survive, some days I collapse inside my thoughts. But even collapsing, I still show up, still answer messages, still meet expectations, still perform strength, still carry responsibilities, still smile politely, still move forward. And nobody sees the cost of this, the exhaustion beneath, the trembling underneath, the heaviness inside, the constant self-talk, the daily convincing to not give up. I need you to understand something. I am not weak for feeling deeply. I am human for hurting silently. I am brave for speaking now. This confession is not ending. It is beginning. Beginning of honesty, beginning of healing, beginning of connection, beginning of release, beginning of truth. If you stay after hearing this, if you listen without turning away, if you acknowledge pain without fixing it, if you hold space without conditions, then maybe, just maybe, this world becomes slightly less heavy, slightly more bearable, slightly more hopeful, slightly more human. For me today, this is part one of truth. There is more waiting inside me, stories untold yet, wounds unexplained yet, memories unresolved yet, feelings unnamed yet. But for now, this is enough. Enough courage spent, enough honesty released, enough weight lifted. For one moment, for one breath, for one confession, I needed to tell you this right now before I disappear back into silence, back into strength, back into pretending I am okay. I still need to continue now. because silence returns too quickly otherwise, and truth unfinished feels heavier somehow than truth delayed inside trembling chest. If you stayed until this moment, it already means something important here, because most people leave before depth, leave before discomfort, leave before honesty. So if you are still listening, then maybe you are meant to hear what comes next, what hurts deeper, what shaped me, what still bleeds. I need to say this very clearly. I did not become this guarded accidentally, this cautious emotionally, this quiet inwardly, this careful constantly, without reason painful. Every version of me today was sculpted slowly by repeated disappointments, by broken expectations, by promises spoken but never honored when needed most. I trusted deeply when trust was risky. I loved openly when love was unsafe. I believed fully when belief cost. Pieces of my heart I never recovered. People left quietly without proper goodbyes. People changed suddenly without honest explanations. People stayed physically but disappeared emotionally, leaving confusion behind instead of closure. I blamed myself for far too long, wondered what lacked, what needed fixing, what needed changing to be enough, to be chosen, to be stayed for. I adjusted myself, shrunk my needs, softened my voice, lowered my expectations, accepted bare minimums, called them compromises, called them maturity, called them love. But deep inside, something knew better, something whispered warnings. Every time I settled, every time I ignored my own discomfort, every time I convinced myself pain equals growth, I grew tired of self-betrayal, tired of explaining others, tired of understanding endlessly, tired of forgiving prematurely, tired of waiting patiently, tired of hoping blindly, tired of hurting quietly. I realized slowly that loving others should not require abandoning myself completely, that loyalty should not cost my self-respect, that patience should not excuse repeated wounds. So I began building boundaries quietly, not walls aggressively, not punishments bitterly, but gentle protections for a heart that kept giving until it bled dry. People noticed change, called me distant, called me cold, called me different, but they never asked what forced this change, what broke first, what finally exhausted me. They missed the part where I begged silently for effort returned, for honesty offered, for consistency shown, for reassurance given, for presence proven, not just promised. I needed actions, not beautiful words. I needed consistency, not temporary intensity. I needed safety, not emotional roller coasters. I needed peace, not constant uncertainty. And when I stopped chasing clarity, stopped explaining pain, stopped justifying feelings, stopped over communicating, stopped begging understanding, people felt uncomfortable with my new silence. But my silence was not punishment. It was recovery. It was self-respect. It was choosing peace over familiar chaos. It was protecting healing, still fragile inside. I need you to understand this. I am not heartless. I am just careful. I am not Chloe. OZ. I am just cautious. I am not distant. I am discerning now. I still feel deeply, still love intensely, still care immensely, still hope quietly, still dream privately, still believe softly, still try honestly, just not recklessly, because every time I gave recklessly, I was left cleaning emotional messes, alone without support, alone without accountability, alone without apology, alone with lessons learned. I learned that not everyone deserves access to vulnerability, access to softness, access to loyalty, access to patience, access to my heart, just because they ask. Some people enjoy the benefits of love without responsibilities attached, without consistency required, without accountability expected, without effort sustained, without growth intended, without commitment offered. I refuse now to be that person who gives endlessly while receiving confusion, who explains endlessly while receiving silence, who stays loyal while being optional. This does not mean I stopped believing in love completely. It means I believe in healthier love now, in calmer connections, in mutual effort, in emotional safety. I want conversations that do not drain, connections that feel light, love that feels safe, presence that feels stable, words that match actions, effort that feels equal, silence that feels peaceful. And yes, sometimes I fear I may be too much, or too guarded, or too cautious, or too slow for this loud world that rushes intimacy. But I would rather be slow and safe than fast and broken again and again. I would rather build gradually than burn brightly and collapse painfully. I am learning to choose myself without guilt attached, without apology offered, without explanations prepared, without fear dominating, without people pleasing, without self-abandonment. And that journey is not pretty always, not inspiring constantly, not peaceful daily, some days lonely, some days confusing, some days heavy,